Good morning, Greg here. Burning both ends. Burning on the front end of Friday. Love Friday. Love every day. It is 7:20. Not 7:20 a.m. It is July 20th. There you go. It's funny how we do our date differently than everyone else in the world. It is July 20th, 2018, 6:40 a.m. Pacific. And today we are wrapping up week 7 of I-Corps. So I-Corps is this technology transfer training, DOE funded, that I'm involved in. Next week I fly to Denver to wrap up and graduate. And just really excited about this program. It's just incredible. We're learning about the lean startup model. We're learning about the business model canvas. We're learning about customer discovery interviews. That's kind of the focal point. And the big milestone of the course is 75 customer discovery interviews. And we hit our 75th yesterday. We have another, I think, 3 today. So we'll definitely go past that. And this morning at 8 a.m. we have a very important one. Very excited. And so it's just, I can't say enough how much this program has benefited me, has benefited our ability to understand our technology and its traction in the market. And right now we are trying to get to Europe So we have, for this course, or for this training, we have $75,000 that pays for essentially 2 of us to do this work. There are 3 people in the core on the team. There is the entrepreneurial lead, which is me. We have a principal investigator. His name is Peter. And then we have an industry mentor, Alan. And so the $75K can pay for me and Peter. We have to travel to Denver the first week, the last week, and then, of course, in the middle, do all these interviews. And it's amazing how quickly that money goes, especially living in Northern California. Just to give you a sense of like the burdens of my company. So my hourly rate is like $200 an hour, fully burdened. Peter's is about $250. Alan doesn't get paid at all. He's all doing this for free, but we do pay for his travel to Denver. And then so we're going to easily burn through all that money. And so right now we're looking for some funding to get us to Europe. In mid-September, there is a conference of great interest where essentially the entire community of our target, not our target market, but essentially the machine that produces our target markets, right? So all those folks are going to be there. It's a very small community. We're trying to get there. We're going to learn a lot. We are thinking startup. It's early, but it's exciting, just to think that. And, I think it'd be a lot of fun just to kick this can down the road as far as we can, see how far we can push it. And so, and this is kind of the whole point of I-Corps, is it really creates a sense of urgency around getting this work done, thinking about all these things in parallel, even though we're not ready to yet. I mean, we've already put together revenue models, and it's like we don't really even understand what our product would cost. But at the same time, what I've learned is that the price of our item is not based on what it costs. It's based on the value that it delivers to the market. So there is that. And we do have a good understanding of the value that we can deliver to the market. So, but just a lot of things that it forces us to think about. And what's great about that, even though it's uncomfortable and it's a little awkward at times, it shows us where the gaps are and how to fill in or not maybe how to fill in the gaps, but at least where they are and what needs to be filled in, and perhaps what interviews to schedule and what kind of people to talk to. Like yesterday, we had a great conversation with a lawyer about intellectual property, and just to hear him speak for half an hour about the questions to ask, the recommendations on, when we move forward with patents and licensing and all these little details, how to talk to these big companies, what we really can say, what we should kind of hold back. Really, really critical stuff. And you might think, why would you need to talk to a lawyer? But it's just so critical. It's so critical to lock up the IP and really have a nice, either it's going to be patents. Well, it's probably going to be a whole set of patents and then a whole set of trade secrets, right? You really need both. You can't, and if it's just one patent, the advice that we've gotten is it's very easy for some of these big companies to just circumvent one patent. Because the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to attack the validity of the patent to begin with. They're going to say, you shouldn't have been given a patent anyway, and this is why, and that's what they're going to do. Or they're just going to hold it up in court. If they're big enough, they're going to hold it up in court for 20 years and just kind of run the small business dry of money or of patience. Which, kind of stinks, but it's kind of how the world works. So yeah, loving this I-Corps program, loving this Success Journal. So the Success Journal is a system that I've been using for pretty much ever since I got back from Denver. And the purpose of the Success Journal is to keep me, staring right at 3 important things that I'm doing here with I-Corps and with my other projects at work and with my side projects and my family and anything else I'm doing. And it's to keep me, to keep my focus items in clear view, the things I'm heading toward, to keep my kind of daily and weekly tasks in order, like what are the specific things I have to do during the week, and then of course, when I hit these major milestones, they're called success steps. It keeps track of those to make sure that I'm heading, that I'm starting to check off, that these little tasks I'm doing through the week are building into like big milestones, which is critical. Like for example, hitting these 75 customer discovery interviews. There's a whole bunch of little tasks that are part of that. But let me make sure that, so the focus items create the success steps, and then the little tasks get me to the success steps. And so, and it's a nice feedback loop because it keeps me honest about what I'm doing. Because if my focus items and my success steps are out of sync, then obviously that tells me something. If I'm doing all these tasks and I'm not checking off any success steps, that should tell me something, right? There's a great motivational video. It's like a commencement speech by Denzel Washington. Really love what he has to say, by the way, about a whole bunch of things. I forget the exact quote, but it's something about just be careful about making yourself busy, right? Make sure you're making progress, right? It's not just about doing work. It's about moving in a direction. And so this success journal kind of, it really helps understand if there's direction or not. And on top of it, I'm really focused on I-Corps. That's most of my time that way. With the Success Journal, I can keep track of these smaller projects that I'm working on because I cannot let those falter and slip. So, and it's really doing a good job of that. And it's this kind of catch-all place for, I'm working on A, and all of a sudden something comes in from B from the side, and I want to track that somehow. It's some little thing like call somebody or do something or look something up. The Success Journal is a great place to put that little task because I'll look at that later, either the next day or the day after, and I'll see it and it'll remind me. So it's a good kind of catch-all, good like repository for all these little things that show up, because that happens a lot to me, I find, and I think it happens to all of us, right? All of a sudden I'm in the middle of doing something, I get a phone call and like orthogonal thing comes in, boom, I'm not working on that, but I need to write that down somewhere. And if I just write down on a piece of paper, that's dangerous. And so the Success Journal, as you'll note, it's linked down below in the description. It's a Google Sheet, and it really helps. So there we are. So yeah. So and the I-Corps training. This is something that's it was a very bold move to do. I had to get there was a lot of work just to get in the program. I had to get approval from my higher ups at work because what I do at work is really not associated with this. We had to apply for it. We had to get in. They moved all the dates. I had to make sure it was cool with my family. There was all these things to do, but it's well worth it. And this is really it's elevating my game. This is really it's a bold move. I'm out of my comfort zone, and I think, and actually I know coming back to Denver is going to be another ratchet up. I mean, this is not a week to relax and chill out and enjoy graduation. I mean, we're going to enjoy graduation, I should say that, but it'll be a lot of intense work. And one of the things that circled back to us is the art of storytelling. And so this is my big commitment between now and I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure what day I give this kind of final presentation where I'm really going to do my best to tell the story about what we're doing. I mean, and this is the interesting thing about being an engineer or a scientist, living on PowerPoint, or as I do, Google Slides right now, and kind of the way that the scientific community uses PowerPoint, right? I mean, unfortunately, we break all the rules of PowerPoint. You look at some slides, and these things are ridiculously complicated. They have all these charts, all this detail. We'll spend like a half an hour on one slide. This is not at all slick slide deck presentation style. This is just data and content. and the kind of content like thick content. And so to throw us into this, no, this is a pitch deck. This is, you're telling a story. The slide is a minimal thing. It just shows one or two ideas, and then it's more about what you're saying. It's just a whole different ballgame. And so they've given us the slide guide that says for each presentation, essentially this is the content, and the way it's bulleted out, it's like each bullet is one slide, and that's how we've been following it. Like, okay, it's got 8 bullets, 8 slides. Okay, I'm gonna do a slide on each of these, and then boom, done. And so we were given some advice about now think about storytelling. Think about telling the story of what you're doing and why it's important. Where you're going, what you need. Think about speaking to investors. This is the story of the ecosystem. This is how we fit in the value chain. This is why what we bring to the market will add value down the chain. This is the estimated amount of value that we're going to add down the chain. This is the end product or end products that are pulling our technology in that direction to make sure that value shows up. And so I really want to put a lot of work in. This is my commitment to put a lot of work into the story now, and I'm excited for that because this is a place that I want to push myself into. Right? It's technically sales, but any type of, I'm realizing anything that I do in life is sales, right? When I go on an interview for a job, that's sales, right? And how do I sell myself? I'm going to be telling stories. Right? I'm not just going to bullet out my skills. Oh, I can do this. I can do, no, I'm going to tell a story about a past job I had, and that story is going to show that I have these skills because they're going to remember that story. They're not going to necessarily remember a list of bulleted skills, right? That's essentially what a resume is for. So I'm very excited about getting into the story. I'm going to challenge myself to really put together a good story, a powerful story, a story that really communicates where we sit, why it's important, and why, because at some point, if we're really going to do the startup, we're going to have to convince someone to write a decent-sized check. We just learned yesterday that one component of what we're going to build, we're going to need at least about $500,000 to $750,000 a year in development costs for that one component. All right, so we're going to need, let's just say, $750,000 a year times 3, $2.25, $2.5 million over 3 years, because we think it's going to take about 2 to 3 years to get into the market. We want to accelerate that, but still. We want to have contingency, so let's just call it 2.5 mil, and that's just for one little piece. And so I think we probably have to multiply that times 3 because I think that there are 2 other major components. And so we just so we're looking for like a $7 to $10 million check over about 3 years to get us there. And so if I'm going to be asking someone to write a check like that, it's got to be some pretty good reason to do it. This is a pretty high risk endeavor. It's hardware. Hardware is scary for investors, right? Software is nice and easy because software scale-up is very well known and very straightforward. Hardware scale-up is tough, but the good thing is that what we'd be building, it's not like we're going to build this is not iPhones. We're not going to be building millions of these things. I mean, if the scale-up goes to maybe 50 to 100 a year, maybe if that 50, let's say, a year. So it's not crazy. It's not crazy scale-up. It's definitely well within the range of kind of what I understand, right? My engineering background is based on, we build one of something, right? The first of its kind, one of a kind type instrumentation. And it's a whole different ballgame when you're building one than when you're going to build a million. But, that little spot there where we're building 50 to 100, in the early days it'll be, maybe a dozen or so, a couple dozen. So, that scale up is not as scary as, iPhone kind of scale up. But it's still, there's a lot of risk in hardware, a lot of risk. So, we want to convince someone to write about a $10 million check, and there's got to be a good story to go behind that. So I'm excited to work on that. I'm excited to really challenge myself, to get there. And this is all what's going on because, for example, I think we're gonna fund the Germany trip with no problem. And when we get to Germany, what's it going to be? It's going to be telling stories to people. It's going to be telling stories. This is what we're doing. And seeing, it's the same thing that I've been doing to elevate my game, right? I've been meeting people, telling my story, seeing whose ears perk up, and moving in those directions. And that's something else. I'll circle back to Gary V from last night's post. That's one thing that he gave advice. I forget it was a podcast or a YouTube video or whatever it was, but some content where that was a podcast. Some young kid called in, and he was talking about whatever he was doing, trying to help people. And Gary's advice was, work with the people that are saying yes, right? It's so much more difficult to try to convince the people that are saying no. Work with the people that are saying yes and move in those directions and get empowered and, harness those yeses to build, as opposed to try to go against the grain and convince the no's. And so that's exactly what I've been doing. And we're in this I-Corps program, we're getting a lot of yeses from a lot of interesting people, a lot of important people in the industry. And we're going to have a lot of support going into this conference in Europe already, just through this I-Corps program. We're going to have some very critical, influencers, very influential people that are going to, just because they say things, stuff's going to happen. And actually, we've heard that. There was one gentleman that we met in Denver, and he introduced us to two lawyers that gave great advice. And then he also introduced us to another engineer who ended up leading us to another person that gave us some great advice. And one of the comments from one of the lawyers so this guy's name is Griff. This lawyer said, and he's a high value, he works with companies like Qualcomm, and this lawyer, portfolio management, IP management. And he's like, if Griff asked me to do it, I'm going to totally do it. I mean, that was his statement. And think about having a network like that. Think about developing people like that know you. That's powerful. I mean, Griff, actually, I want to reach out to Griff. Griff, you're the man. Love you. You really helped us out. I'm going to reach out to Griff. I want to take him out for a beer when we get back to Denver, if I have time. I mean, it's a crazy schedule, but I'll check in with him. But I want to have a network like that. I want to have people that say things like that about me, right? And that's one of the things I learned about network. And I saw Simon Sinek had a comment about this on LinkedIn. It's not the size of your network. It's how many people you can introduce to others, right? It's the power of that. And then once you make the introduction and walk away, it's what they say about you when you're gone. There's some power there. So there's no, and that's where credibility really shows up, right? I will wrap there. This channel is all about my journey as an aspiring entrepreneur. These are about the systems I'm putting in place to do my work, about the challenges I'm putting forth to myself to elevate my game. So that's where the system is right now is the Success Journal. The challenge is this I-Corps program. And then let's head down the road of this potential startup. Let's see how far we can take it. Let's see what it looks like. A lot of unknowns, but that's the business. So check out the description. There are some motivational links down there. There's some great music down there. You can see Ents down there. There's voice-based social media platform I'm really into. You will find a great post by Gary V about voice. You will find the beat in the background is down there. G Money is my alter ego. I write these beats. I've been drumming for a few decades. It's an Afro beat inspired by fella Hoodie. And so check it out on SoundCloud. And other than that, go out and have a great day. It's Friday, crush it. Definitely up your game this afternoon, right? Everyone relax this Friday afternoon. If you take it an extra notch, you'll get ahead. That's what I'm going to do. So we have 3 interviews today and have some great meetings this afternoon. So looking forward to it. So y'all be good. Crush the day, light it up, do great things, inspire folks, and I will see you tonight.